Hello everybody, it's back. It's the United Stand and the chart show is back. So excited for this. If you know, you know. Basically what we do each week is we rank every Manchester United player into the top 10. Some of them won't make the top 10. If you remember Top of the Pops or the old chart show in the music, which I used to love, effectively we bring it to football with the Manchester United players. Who's going to be this week's number one? Will there be any high climbers? Will there be people dropping down? Well, it's the first one of the season and we are taking into account the previous week. So we're looking at Southampton and Leicester games really, probably with a bit of Liverpool to be fair, being as it's the first one. But each week we're going to be looking at two fixtures. So next week it'll be the Arsenal and the Sociedad game. And obviously there'll be a lot of change in that with the top 10. So let's fly straight into it. You can get into the comments as well. Give your opinions on anything you disagree with. We've spoken about this collectively across the United Stand and taken into account some of the viewers. And we'll expand that bigger over the season. But it's not just my opinion here. We've taken everybody in the United Stand involved. So you can do your top 10s in the chat or you can disagree or agree with what we're going. So in at number 10, Marcus Rashford, this season's number 10, and in at number 10. To be honest with you, positives and negatives. We are drifting back to the Liverpool game where I think he played quite well off the left wing, scored a goal. Has he built on that? Not massively, but he did get an assist at Leicester. Although I think down the middle, it's a shame he's not been playing off the left. If I'm honest, people will be saying Rashford at number 10. It's probably more to do with the fact that there isn't actually a lot of other options. I mean, I'll tell you for now, Ronaldo's not in the top 10. Casemiro's not in the top 10. And effectively, I think Rashford, to be in the top 10 next week, he's going to have a good week against Arsenal and Sociedad if he plays, because as more players come into this, people like Anthony, I think he's in a perilous position. But he makes the top 10, Marcus Rashford, and he is in at number 10. Now, in at number 9, little bit unlucky, Scott McTominay, in at number 9. And there's no doubt that in the graph of Scott McTominay as a Manchester United player, which, let's be honest, has been pretty low for a long time, he's probably at a high point. Back where he was when he played against Burnley in January. I mean, that's how long it's been since many United fans have been able to say the words McTominay had a good game. And we're not saying a world-class game. We're not saying he's the answer for the midfield. But there can be no real doubts that Scott McTominay played reasonably well against Leicester on Thursday night and was okay against Southampton. So he's had a pretty good week. One of his best weeks he's probably had in his United career, putting in two decent performances, one after the other. Limited, yes. Look, he's never going to be a Kimmich. He's never going to be a De Bruyne, and he's never going to be a Thiago or anything like that. But as a bench player for Manchester United, a player that can come in and do a job, he does come in and do a job. And I think in different weeks, he may have been even higher. But the standard in this United side is very good this week. So Scott McTominay in at number 9. I'd take that as a positive because normally he probably wouldn't even be in the top 10. So build on that, and I'm sure he'll start against Arsenal, to be honest with you. In at number 8, it's Jaden Sancho. And again, look, probably some might have thought he might be a bit higher, but you'll see as we move through the top 10 this week that there is a high standard being set. Jaden Sancho scored against Leicester, but subbed in both the Leicester and Southampton games. I think Jaden Sancho's been steady good. I don't think he's been bad. I don't think he's been average. I think he's been steady good. And if anything, he's not higher this week because he's not been supported by an attack or a midfield that is pushing us up the pitch. We had less than 50% possession against Leicester, which is pretty surprising when you're playing the team that's bottom of the league. So I think that Sancho has had a steady start to the season, a good start to the season, with many more gears to come when we start to get more further up the pitch, because that's where Sancho really is dangerous, when we get him on the ball in the final third, which we need to do more of. But a good start for Jaden Sancho, and I would expect in future weeks there's an opportunity for him to climb up the charts. In at number 7, it's Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes, captain, 9 points from 9. And involved in most of the goals that United are scoring, although we're not scoring hatfuls, he is involved. Yes, the frustration is still there, but at what point do you say, is Bruno playing badly or is he playing well? And I think the big conversation is sort of in between. I would lean on the positive and say that we've moaned about a lack of leadership for so long. Are we going to ignore a captain that's won three out of 3? There has to be something going on there. Maybe it's in the dressing room. Maybe it's in the tunnel. Maybe it's on the pitch that we're not picking up. Maybe Bruno is a big part of this United unity and ability and communication and camaraderie. Maybe Bruno Fernandes is a massive part of that. And as the captain, maybe he is a key player. I certainly think on the pitch, there are more gears to go. There is still the frustration there with Bruno in relation to these Hollywood passes that he plays, which hopefully will come out of his game. Because if we want to move from 60% possession to 70% possession and beyond, we've got to be more careful with the ball. We've got to be more patient. However, there is no doubt that Ten Hag has set the team up in the last few games to counter fast, to defend well and counter fast. And I don't think Bruno is doing anything that Erik Ten Hag's not happy with. We have looked time and time again for that ball over the top for Rashford's pace. And it's not worked, but we've clearly tactically looked to do it. So Bruno may well be following orders. And another thing with Bruno is it might not always be structured, but he's pressing and he's running around. I don't think anybody's running around more than he is at the moment. So I think he's worthy of number 7, Bruno. And again, I would be looking for him to move up higher. In at number 6, David De Gea. Some people might be surprised by this, but he's been a fundamental part of that back five, the communication, the organisation. 1 goal conceded in 3 games. I don't know why Sky chose not to show that fantastic foot save against Liverpool that he made. The free kick, I thought, was well within his ability, but maybe a lesser goalkeeper might have let that in against Leicester. But look, number 6, it's a steady position for De Gea, and I think he finds himself in a position that he's probably not been in for a while. Last season, it was all about picking the ball out of the net, having made 4 or 5 great saves and still lost 4-0. This season, those clean sheets are being built in front of him, and it's more about concentration. It's more about being a top keeper again. It's more about you might not have anything to do for 40 minutes and then have to pull out a save. And that's what elite goalkeepers are about. We're seeing more of the concentration and focus from De Gea this season, whereas last year he was just relentlessly busy. In at number 5, it's Christian Eriksen. Maybe he's a bit underrated. Maybe he's a bit of an unsung hero, but I think he's very worthy of being in the top 5 this week. Christian Eriksen is a fundamental player for Erik Ten Hag. There is absolutely no doubt about it. He's played so many minutes. Even when he's fading in games, Erik Ten Hag keeps him on. He's played him deep. He's played him more advanced. He's played him box to box. His role in that team reminds me of Michael Carrick. I'm not saying he's there where Carrick was yet, but he is the metronome. He is the dictator. He is the composer. And we saw that against Leicester. I actually think the evolution of the midfield is because Casemiro's the destroyer. He goes and gets the ball, and then Christian Eriksen dictates the play. And I think he can do it in multiple positions, but it's got to be centrally. Funnily enough, against Leicester, we've seen Bruno get shifted to the right, but Eriksen always stays in the middle, because Eriksen's the man that if you want to have that high percentage possession and you want to run the game, and I think we will build towards doing that as we saw in pre-season and as we've seen with Ten Hag at Ajax, then Christian Eriksen's fundamental to that. We didn't get Frenkie de Jong. Bruno, as we've said, there's that question mark about patience. Can he just be a player that's happy to knock the ball about for 5 minutes and not lose it? Well, Christian Eriksen can. McTominay can't. Fred can't. It's not really what Casemiro's about. Christian Eriksen is invaluable to Erik Ten Hag because he's the one midfielder that we've got, probably with Donny van de Beek to be fair, but we don't know what's going to happen with Donny van de Beek, who is happy to just play little passes, keep on the ball, probe, and in the final third, this is where I think Christian Eriksen will become really important. Whether he's playing as the number 10 or whether he's playing as one of the midfielders, if we get that high lineup defensively, you're going to put Eriksen 10, 20 metres well into the opposition's half, and that's where his little passes, his little creativity, his composure is going to become really important. And if you've not woken up to the fact yet, Christian Eriksen was never coming in to replace Juan Mata. And I don't think he would have come to Manchester United to replace Juan Mata and sit on the bench. He knew he would play every week for Brentford. And I think the minute we signed Eriksen, free transfer or not, you could tell the promises and conversations that had been made between him and Ten Hag. Eriksen's coming here to start games. He's not coming here to sit on the bench. And that's becoming very, very clear. In at number 4, and another new signing, and it's interesting how many new signings are in the top 5, because in at number 4, our second new signing in the top 5, and it's Malacia at left back. Again, not really impacted by the bad start to the season. Brighton and Brentford, poor performances defensively by Manchester United. He starts against Liverpool, he starts against Southampton, and he starts against Leicester, and Manchester United concede 1 goal in 3 games and basically win 3 games built on a very, very strong defence. The way he inverts as an attacking fullback is fantastic. It's confusing for teams and they're struggling with it. His defensive work is immense. Now, I'm not going to pretend that there wasn't times, certainly in the Leicester game and the Liverpool game, where Malacia, the opposing winger, got the best of him, but we're not playing that. We're living in the real world. A defender will get beaten. We will concede a sloppy goal. Martinez will make a mistake. Varane will make a mistake. And Malacia, he will make mistakes. He's a brand new young player in a league he hasn't played in before. But the fact that he's come in and benched an established player shows not only his determination and talent, but it also shows the trust that Erik ten Hag has got in him. And the biggest compliment for Malacia at the moment is that there is no conversation about changing his position. The fan base is 100% happy with him, and he's in possession of that left-back position now. And much the same as the centre-backs that we're going to talk about in a minute, Luke Shaw or Brandon Williams when he's back, or whoever wants to fight for that left-back position, they know at the moment that position is not up for grabs. Maybe sometimes it is. Maybe last season we saw it with Delo and Wan-Bissaka and Rania Canoli. It's up for grabs. You never know who's going to start. I think you do know who's going to start at the moment. It's Malacia, and he's done fantastically well. So well done to him. He's in at number 4. And then in at number 3, part of me wanted to give him number 1 this week. Diego Dalot. He's a player that I've always been intrigued by. I didn't want us to sell him last summer. There was talk of Trippier coming in. He ended up going on loan. No, not last year. When did he go to Milan? I think it was the year before. But there was talk last summer about Dalot going to be sold by Solskjaer because he wanted Trippier and we needed a right back. And I think it divided the fan base. And I was of the opinion that he's so young and there's so much interest in him. I'm not saying Man City or Real Madrid are queuing up, but there's always been interest in Dalot if we were going to sell him. That surely he's too young to just give up on yet. I mean, his traits as a fullback are really quite good. He's very mobile. He's very good on the ball. And for a right back, he's actually quite athletic and physical. So if there is a player there, I think it was always worth giving him a chance. And he is the epitome at the moment of what we were talking about in the summer, whereby with a proper coach, the first time we've had a proper coach as a manager, somebody who's on the training ground. And I think Dalot is probably the best example of a player that is benefiting from coaching from Erik ten Hag. And I think more will, and I think more have. I think it's visible to see that even a McTominay has stopped doing his little bunny hops and is passing the ball quicker. But Dalot for me is the top of the league in relation to the players that Erik ten Hag has inherited, that is being coached into being a better player. And again, there's still vulnerabilities. He lost Harvey Barnes on the back post against Leicester, but it was a very, very difficult header for Harvey Barnes. Those things will not disappear overnight, but his consistency is superb at the moment. His energy is fantastic, and he is 100% like Malacia, our first choice right back at the moment. And dislodging him is going to be very difficult if he stays fit and keeps performing how he is. So fantastic from Dalot. Very, very happy with him. Which leads us to, I think it's very obvious who's going to be in the top 2. It's going to be those centre-backs. The question is, who is going to be our number 1 this week? Well, I can reveal that at number 2, and it might not be popular, it is Lisandro the Butcher Martinez, voted Player of the Month by Manchester United fans, but he is not number 1 in the United Stand charts. I'll explain why over the next couple of minutes, but first of all, before we discuss about whether it should be 1 or 2, what an amazing, not turnaround, but quality we have here. I believe we overpaid. I believe Ajax really did make us overpay. But you know what? Even though we overpaid, he may still end up being a bargain. We should have got him for about 30-35 million. Eredivisie centre-back, you should not be paying 55. But actually, if he keeps doing what he's doing, in a couple of years, he could be worth 70-80 million. It's very early days. Look, people were writing him off in the media after the Brentford game, saying he got dominated. If you actually watch that game, he didn't get dominated at all. He didn't have a good game, but he didn't get dominated. If you look at him against Liverpool, Southampton and Leicester, and I think the great thing about that is Liverpool at home dominated us with possession and we had to defend a lot, and he defended a lot. The big thing for me with Martinez is You will get these people saying he's too small, he's going to get found out in the Premier League. Liverpool, Southampton and Leicester, we actually defended a lot. We did defend a lot, and we barely gave them a sniff, because the communication, the coordination and the defensive ability of that back five was absolutely a star. He's 5'10". You can see how you can get at him. It's with height. But is the Premier League or the Champions League or the Europa League or international football, how many times do you see teams now whipping crosses into the box? It happens, but it's not the way that many teams play. And he's certainly not inadequate defensively in the air. He's actually pretty good for his height. So I think this is just lazy journalism, lazy analysis. I and many United fans looked at this before he came in, and we did a video on the Members Club about how Martinez is actually very good in the air for his height. But you've got someone like Rafael Varane next to him who's actually doing better in the air than Harry Maguire at the moment. So they work. A centre-back pairing is a pairing. And I really do say that although Varane will be number one and Martinez will be number two, you could have Martinez number one and Varane number two. Effectively, they're both number one, because the only place in the pitch where a partnership absolutely is imperative is the centre-back partnership. And you win together and you lose together. And these two lads have been absolutely fantastic so far this season. And what I like about Martinez is that, and we're not talking about this enough in the wider media, is that because of this obsession about height, which is just, it's like being obsessed with somebody having a boil on the end of the nose. Look at the rest of their face. Look at their personality. You're just being so vain. Oh, look at him. He's small. He must be bad in the air. I was about talking about United having a left-footed centre-back for the first time in years. How's about the balance? We saw it time and time again against Leicester. Martinez gets the ball under pressure as the left-sided centre-back and passes out naturally off his left foot with very little balance because he's left-footed. If that's Harry Maguire, he's on his right foot and he's in trouble. I mean, I've not heard any of these great analysts talk about how Manchester United's defence is so much better because it's got balance, because it's got a left-footed centre-back who can play down the left side, naturally. These sort of things are aiding that defence. We've got a real balance back four and they're really working well together. So big up to Martinez. And look, the way they're playing, massive game against Arsenal. Who knows? He could be number one next week. But for me, it is Rafael Varane, because it was so close between Varane and Martinez. And I think you want to give it to Martinez because he's the butcher and he's a new signing and everybody loves him. But I actually went from a footballing point of view and didn't go with my heart. I went with my head. And I think the journey of Varane is more impressive. He is the leader of that back four, by the way. Even Martinez has admitted it, but you only need to watch the game. Dalot, Martinez, Malacia, they look at Varane as a four-time Champions League winner, a CB, where if he says something, they respect it. There's a respect in that back four, and Varane is organising it, because that's what he should do. He is the senior defender, and he is the best player centre-back we've got. And everybody's responding to that. So it's the leadership of Varane. It's the way he's come into the team, and he's actually winning more aerial duels and winning, going for more headers than Maguire was. He has completely and utterly sat Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof on the bench, and we haven't even mentioned them really. Last season, I think we had glimpses of Varane, but it was dictated to by injury. This season, I feel like we've got the real Rafael Varane, the player that won multiple Champions League with Sergio Ramos as the best centre-back pairing in the world. He's only 29. Thiago Silva's playing fantastically well for Chelsea in the main, in his mid-30s. Varane sort of got written off. He got benched by Harry Maguire. The journey he's had this season, from being on the bench, watching the team get annihilated, to in the team, thrown in against Liverpool, and organising a back four, to one conceded goal in 3. I think Rafael Varane's been fantastic. And I don't know whether he wants the job, but part of me thinks the way he's organising the back four and the way the back four are working together, maybe there's a role as a captain of the team. So Varane gets it for me. I think he's been absolutely fantastic since he's come back into the team. And the big thing is hopefully he can stay fit. But absolutely superb. And I suppose the big thing is, on the eve of the Arsenal game, where and who is going to move next week? Because this is a big game. If that defence doesn't perform and the attack does, do the attackers come through? If the defence give us another platform to get a really good win against Arsenal, will they hold on to the positions? The chart show is back. I'm very excited about it. It's going to be good fun. And actually, We've binned the singing that I used to do in between because I don't want the novelty value of that. I don't want to be singing in between. I want to actually do this in the way it was meant to be done. This is the top 10 United players of this week. Get in the comments below, have your conversation, maybe even put your top 10s in. Tell us what you agree, disagree with. But we're going to be doing this every week now. And it's going to put a highlight on Manchester United players in a way that they should be. Player ratings are fantastic, but let's look at who's dipping and who's doing well, and I'm really excited about it. Smash a like on the video if you enjoy it. Make sure you subscribe, get your comments in below. The chart show is back, and let's hope that next week we've got lots of climbers and no fallers. Speak to you in a bit. Thanks for watching.